I'll be honest, it never actually clicked in my head that Passion Sunday is the 33rd day of Lent, which obviously Jesus died when he was 33. I don't think it's any coincidence, but I do think it's ironic that Passion Week, begins on the number day that Jesus was when he actually died. Now, what St. Thomas Aquinas discusses today has to do with John 3, verses 14 to 15, which precedes John 3, verse 16, which obviously is, "For God so loved the world that he sent his only begotten Son, that whosoever should believe in him will not perish, but will have eternal life." So this context prior to it, right, says, "As Moses lifted up the serpent in the desert, so must the Son of Man be lifted up, that whosoever believeth in him may not perish, but have life everlasting." And it wasn't all that long ago that I was actually thinking about the serpent in the desert, the golden serpent that Moses was instructed to craft for the Israelites when they were being punished for grumbling about the manna, right? They were like, "This food is terrible, we don't want any more," when they were being cared for. And so snakes came along and they bit them. And whoever looked at this bronze serpent would be healed of the poison. And there are so many thoughts against that say, well, isn't that idolatry? Why would God ask somebody to make an image, a graven image, that they have to look upon in order to be healed? Why is that what it is? And it's partially because obedience is a big part of our faith. And you have to trust that when God is leading our leaders and speaking to our leaders, that there is a level there that we will not always understand because we are not in their position. And we must submit to that authority. When you start to fight against that authority, when you start to say, well, no, I have to figure this out for myself and whatever else. I mean, there's nothing wrong with asking why and trying to understand, but at the end of the day, there's a level of trust that is granted to the authority. So what he says here, though, is that as Moses lifted up the serpent is in the desert has to do with the figure of the passion, meaning that he was obviously also lifted up. But then the mode of the passion being that so must the Son of Man be lifted up, that he was raised up on a cross, right? And he goes into a few different things here on what that can mean about purifying the air, triumphing over the desert or the devil, and to draw our hearts to his heart and those things. Which again, getting back to the obedience factor, that he was obedient unto death, even to death on the cross, which is Philippians 2 verse 8. And so then the last one, though, is the fruit of the passion, which is eternal life, where in John 3:16, I'm intrigued, I'm interested. I tried looking it up for what translation of the Bible St. Thomas Aquinas draws from here, because his version says, "Whosoever believeth in him, doing good works, may not perish, but may have life everlasting." And I looked it up thinking, is that the King James Version? But no, it can't be, because, fundamental Baptists use King James Version. And there's no way that could say, "Whosoever believeth in him, doing good works, may not perish, but may have life everlasting." Like, there was no way that I knew it couldn't be King James Version due to that. But so I don't know what version he's drawing from here. Like, what translation said "doing good works" in this verse, and why was it removed? Because John 3:16 is one of the most well-known verses, and it's obviously not in the Revised Standard Version. It's not in the NIV. It's not in any of these other mainstream translations that we read nowadays. But how powerful would that be if that was still there? Because as we know, the grace from God prompts us to do good works. It is because his grace is freely given that it is able to work in our lives, that we don't have to do anything to earn that grace. But then when that grace is within us, then it comes to fruition. Then we begin to bear fruit through that grace that was freely given to us. That grace is active. And so it's through that we're able to do good works. And so I just think it's interesting that was there, and that we can look to Christ risen up on the cross to be healed. And that is how that grace is granted to us, that grace to inherit eternal life. I do want to mention too, just really quickly, that reminder about the Israelites grumbling about the manna and not liking how it tasted anymore. I just yesterday or the day before was talking with my husband about what I'm doing for Lent this year. And I said, man, I really hope that God does not ask me to do this again. like, like it is, pretty hard. And I just, there have been moments here in the last few days that it's been like, oh, has it been long enough? I mean, it's been 30 days. Did he really want me to do this for all of Lent? And I kind of talked about that in that podcast episode. But as it is, I was saying to him, I said, man, I really hope he doesn't ask me to do this again. And I had a couple subsequent thoughts about that, which was, first off, I feel rather confident that when Jesus was dying on the cross, that he was like, oh my gosh, I really hope that God does not ask me to do this again. Like, just that level of misery, that level of torment, that level of feeling abandoned, that level of whatever, everything that he was experiencing at that time. Just like, I hope that he does not ask me to do this again, which obviously he would never have to. But that first and foremost. But then today when I was thinking about it, it made me think about childbirth. Like, the fruit of fasting, I know, is going to be so redemptive, right? There's going to be a spiritual strengthening through whatever it is that we're choosing to fast from. And it made me think of childbirth, because whenever, those stories, the women give birth and they're like, you're never touching me again. Why did you do this to me? Blah, blah, blah. I'm never doing this again. We're not having any more children. And then the baby comes out and they look at the baby they love and they're like, let's do that again. And this desire, after all of it is over, after the drudgery or the sacrifice or the pain or whatever it might be, once that's over, there's then this beautiful gift, and there's something that makes it so clear on what made that pain and suffering worthwhile, that there's this feeling of, well, I would do that again in a heartbeat. But in the midst of it, you might be like, I never want to ever do this again. Please do not make me. Please do not ask me. Do not even bring it to my attention because I do not like this. And but then at the end of it, there's something that ends up being redeeming of it all and makes it all just so worthwhile, that it's just like, okay, let's do that again. That was so worth it. And so I just pray for you and myself that our Lents can continue strong, that we cannot grumble like the Israelites. I promise that God will not ask me to build a golden serpent for you to look at. That would be rather odd, but it's I just hope that it can be redemptive for you, and that trust and that hope and that faith that you may have in that redemptive nature may be so prominent in your prayer life and in your walking right now. And I'm praying that for myself as well, just for that reminder, so that we can just maintain hope, maintain faith, maintain gratitude for what it is that we do have, and just wait for the moment that it is that it all makes sense and it all is just, it's like, okay, that was worth it. So God bless you. Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you enjoy your Passion Sunday. Happy St. Patrick's Day and all of that as well. And I look forward to chatting with you again tomorrow. Have a great day.